It's amazing to think that every night all of humanity lays down, quietly shuts off, and goes to sleep. No matter what the circumstance, through the best of times or the worst of times, we humans always manage to get some sleep. We spend about a third of our lives asleep. That's an average of about 25 years, which is a
Wow.
remarkable time to consider and to take seriously. Sleep serves a function. It exists in order to maintain the physical and also mental health of a living being, and as a result, it can improve quality of life. Sleep provides countless health benefits, and it also affects the way we dream. Understanding and navigating how we sleep works can assist in conscious dreaming. It serves as the foundation for any dreaming practice that you undertake. Welcome to the Fundamentals of Sleep, where we will delve deep into the understanding of the physical and biological aspects of sleeping and dreaming in order to become more effective conscious dreamers. I'm Alejandro Salinas. I'm a dream guide, yoga teacher, and massage therapist here in Chicago.
Hello, I'm Tree Carr, and I'm a dreaming guide, a death doula, a tarot reader, and an author in London.
I'm Jennifer Claroscura, and I'm a dream guide and dream work specialist in New York.
Hello. How's it going?
Hey, good.
Good. Ready to talk about sleep and dreams.
As always.
Yeah, so here we are talking about the fundamentals of sleep. And it's important to
Woohoo!
know. It's important to know this stuff because we need to know what's going on in our sleep cycles. It helps us navigate our dreaming practice a lot more. And it's funny because I don't remember ever learning anything about sleep cycles in school. Do you guys remember that? Like in science or biology or
I remember a little bit of REM talk and stuff like that, but nothing too advanced where I wondered about dreams and lucid dreams. Although they did mention in my schools what people created in their dreams, so that was some facts that I knew because of school, which is strange.
Like inventions, ideas people got from dreams?
Because of chemistry,
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
table.
Oh yeah.
So the teacher somehow
periodic
knew that,
table.
and it was like a fun fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun facts.
I don't remember a whole lot, but I've definitely, gotten to study with Stephen LaBerge and Dr. Nevin Aurora. And just from a lot of my reading. And I don't teach too much about sleep cycles in the workshop. Um, they're good to know a just basic understanding of, the basic 90-minute on average sleep cycle. We go through a couple of stages. The first being this very light sleep, which is like the hypnagogic state. And then we move into a lighter sleep where we start actually turning inward. We're technically asleep here. And then deep sleep happens in the first about 5 hours. The majority of sleep is deep sleep. And this is the most restorative part of sleep. This is where we dive real deep in the subconscious. The mind is busy repairing things like the body, which is where things like eating, we'll talk more about sleep hygiene, can really disrupt this stage of sleep. And after that deep sleep, we're going to jump back up and slowly we make our way up to REM sleep, which, fun fact, they almost called, instead of rapid eye movement, they were going to call it jerky eye movement, which would have made it gem sleep.
Weird.
But that's where dreams happen. And then from there, it repeats, and the REM cycles get longer after, throughout the night, which is why the morning, those like 2 hours before you wake up, is the best time to lucid dream.
But more than the sleep cycles, I used to look into the brain waves.
Oh, yeah.
Because as an astral projecting person, I guess, astral projector, I used to do brainwave entrainment, and I was always looking into the theta waves, alpha waves, beta waves, so, but I never really understood the delta waves. I never really understood where that fell in with the different sleep cycles. I just sort of induced them by listening or by meditation. So I'm a little bit, uninformed in that scenario. How do they link?
Well, basically, they link, it's a biological thing. So, as Ale was saying, we're moving through all of these stages of sleep, 5 cycles through our night. Our brain waves are moving through the cycles as well. So, if you just think of it as like a slowing down of the brain waves, basically, we start off when we're doing our menial tasks throughout the day, we're usually operating out of the beta brain waves. That's when we're consciously alert and we're awake. And that's kind of
Okay.
our primary waking frequency. It's
Yeah.
responsible for all our concentration, our cognition. But then as we start falling into sleep, our brainwaves move out of that and they slow down. So we start moving into the theta and into the delta waves. So if you can kind of feel them happening. You can feel the brainwaves slowing down, especially in stage 1 sleep when you're entering the hypnagogic. If you allow your conscious awareness just to be aware and alert, so your body's falling into sleep, but your consciousness is still awake, you can feel the shift of the slower brain waves. It's almost as though your brain is like a radio receiver and it's tuning into a different frequency or a different radio station. So in the hypnagogic, you can experience a lot of interesting phenomenon because your brain waves are slowing down. So what you usually, that's responsible for the hypnagogic imagery that you see. So flashes of light or color, sacred geometry, little scenes unfolding, and also anything that you hear as well. So a lot of people hear like bits of music or snippets of conversation. So these are all kind of like the symptoms, and you can get that too just through daydreaming, through
Different kinds of meditation.
meditations.
Oh, also the light. I recently experimented. Not recently, probably like a couple of years ago. I experimented with Tadakimesis, a light machine.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah.
I've done
I went
that.
in that thing
yeah,
too.
They have one
yeah, and
here.
and it actually, yeah, it actually did bring me down
Did
to
it have
those
music
levels.
too? Like the beeps,
Yeah,
Sound.
I
the
had
sound?
my headphones on, and I had the Pandora Star. That's what it was called.
That's what it is. Yeah, Pandora
Mhm.
Star.
And you kind of just have to let go and not try to, usually we try to navigate the hypnagogic imagery, and with the Pandora Star, you kind of just have to let go of that control because you are seeing a pattern.
Yeah.
You don't creating a pattern. You're seeing a pattern that's being created, but it's meant to induce you into certain states of awareness. And I did come out of that like super tripped out. But I think it depends on the moment you do it. Like I don't like any other meditation. Some are more, effective than others. So
Yeah. So I did that too, the Pandora Lightbox experience in London, and it was with like a cacao ceremony. So cacao is like a sacred um, a drink.
Sacred chocolate.
That's sacred chocolate
Sacred
drinks full of
sacred
theobromine.
hot chocolate.
Sacred hot chocolate. Yeah, I was all drinking up that stuff. I tell you,
hot chocolate is always sacred,
it was
guys.
sacred
No, it
hot
really is.
chocolate. It was
Opens up the heart.
super high vibration. Yeah,
Mm,
super
mm,
heart
mm,
opening,
mm, mm.
theobromine, like great feel good thing. So we had that, and then we laid underneath the Pandora light boxes with a gong bath and surrendered to it. So I had an interesting experience with that. So yeah, your brain waves do slow down, but it is showing you imagery there that it's giving you the hypnagogic imagery almost. But I had an interesting thing happen when I was in this kind of meditation. So I'm watching this psychedelic geographic like geometry shapes, like kind of kaleidoscope thing unfolding, and then all of a sudden I moved beyond that. It was almost like now things from my own mind were flashing up in between. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, and what I saw was like this vision of, over here in the UK, there's this like chain, like highway sort of restaurant chain called Little Chef. It's like Big Boy in America kind of thing.
interesting.
And I was like, okay, it's Little Chef. What the hell is that all about? And then after the experience, I was like, wow, okay, all I got out of that was Little Chef, really? Okay, that's weird. And then my friend came and picked me up. We were driving down to Margate. So she came and picked me up after the whole experience. And we're on the motorway and we're driving down the motorway, just chatting and talking. And she's like, "Oh, I'm really hungry. I want to stop off and get something." And as we were going down the motorway, spotted a little chef and she pulled in to Little Chef. And so I was
Whoa.
like, okay, that's pretty cool. I got like a precognitive hit.
You went to the future.
Yeah,
Wow.
so sometimes these things can happen, but I do think we access these states of consciousness through the slowing down of our brain waves. And you can get that in, lots of different ways. You can get it in trance states, you can get it in the psychedelic experience, you can get it through
Hypnosis states too.
hypnagogic
I
meditation.
actually, if people are curious, I documented my use of the Pandora Star. It's on my YouTube channel. If you just search Jennifer Claroscura or Dream Pioneers, you can on YouTube you can see more or less what that is about and how I felt afterwards. I don't remember too much right now, but there it is in more detail for those interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's interesting exploring consciousness through various tools and means. And but yeah, you're right, Jennifer. It's like it's the brain waves that you really want to start to get to know in your sleep cycle. So it's,
Yeah,
but also the phases of sleep too, because a lot of us
true.
conscious dreamers like to hack our sleep cycles in order to achieve lucidity or astral.
Hack is the
Hack.
word.
Sleep hacks. Hack the planet.
So, so how do you guys, Ale and also Jenny, have you hacked your sleep cycles before in order to receive lucidity within dream states or out of body?
Yeah, like I mentioned before with brainwave entrainment audios and meditation, the mind is what is it? Body asleep, mind awake, body asleep techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically bringing my heart levels to slow down everything. I used to do this so much as a teenager. It was my mom thought I was dead half the time. She'd come into my room and she'd literally come up to me
Or
and
a heart
like
attack.
feel if I'm breathing because I was so deep. I used to just do this for fun. I mean, I was a nerd.
I love it, little lucid nerd. And Ale, what about you? Have you ever done the like wake back to bed
Yeah, a lot.
technique?
And also even before sleep, like meditating with binaural beats, which are supposedly, I don't know, supposed to get you in like this certain brainwave, and even
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
just like a meditation aid, whether it's placebo or not, I'm not totally sure, but I find them pretty helpful, especially if you're listening through like headphones
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
totally.
meditation.
more
And
immersive.
I love Stephen LeBurge calls the wake back to bed like that this anti nap you take in the middle of the night, and we've done that a lot. And it really so when you not just you wake up from your sleep cycle and you're supposed to stay up for about 30 minutes, so this disrupts the sleep, and you'll activate something called the REM rebound. And because you've neglected yourself of the REM time that you were supposed to be getting, going back into sleep instead of starting from light, going to stage 2, then stage 3, and going to the deepest sleep. Instead, at that point, you can jump straight into a dream. And I'm sure plenty of listeners have had this experience, which is what makes going to sleep in the middle of the night different than in the beginning of the night. It's a much bumpier, slower process. Although we do still have the hypnagogic imagery, we don't necessarily go straight into REM.
I have a strange, like you guys know, I have a strange sleep cycle. Polyphasic means it's bunch of naps throughout the night because I have a baby. Or biphasic, which is like I think 5 hours of sleep and then a nap in the day. So my dreams and my sleep and all these, I don't think I ever go too deep. But somehow this like waking up and going to sleep, it's like crazy you get almost like psychedelic.
Yeah.
Your dreams are my dreams get super esoteric. I almost have like the most mysterious and amazing out of body and lucid dreams because of this strange wake and sleep, wake and sleep, wake and sleep. It's
Mhm.
like it's insane.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way to hack it also because
Yeah, have a
have a
baby.
baby. Let's top it up.
have a colicky baby.
But yeah, breaking up
So,
your sleep
hey.
gives you more opportunities not only to fall asleep consciously, but to wake up from a dream and remember them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Not
totally.
not to mention that your mind is always aware of the baby because it could choke, it can, it can turn, it can fall. Like all these things are in your head, so you never
Mhm.
fully go deep because you're always like one third eye
Wow.
open at
But
the
that's what we
baby.
want, the third eye open.
Yeah, exactly. So it's worked for me, not against me.
Yeah, that's good. Work with it. Work with it definitely. And I know some people they work night shifts or their
Right.
schedule is just very different and their sleep schedules are different and work with that too. There's still ways in which you can do your conscious dreaming practice and understand your unusual sleep cycles and still work alongside it. And it was interesting what you said, Ale, about the binaural beats and
Yeah.
isotopic tones. Hemisync is really great. So if you're listening to this and you want to slow down your brain waves, or you want to experiment more on the threshold of wakefulness and sleep in the hypnagogic, and if you find it difficult to have your consciousness be focused and aware, it's great to use these great sounds in order to slow your brainwaves down. So a really great website in which you could find hemisync, isotopic tones, and binaural beats is the Monroe Institute website, which is from the pioneer explorer of out of body, Robert Monroe. So you just do a quick Google search and there's a lot of information. Also YouTube, there's
Oh yeah,
tons
YouTube.
as
Even on
well.
Spotify, there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's
But what
now a
you
very common thing. Like if you Google lucid dreaming or if you go on YouTube and search lucid dreaming, it's mainly these binaural beats and
Mhm.
music to lucid dream more than information
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, but you got to be slightly careful with those ones on YouTube, though, because a lot of them will say isotopic tones or binaural beats, and then you play it, and it's just like new age music, like just singing to the whales and stuff, and but with some of the tones in there, but it's like, so what you want is the
What?
actual isolated tones. You don't want the music fluffy
Look, you
stuff.
can't tell me
You
what
want
I
the
want.
actual.
What if I want fluffy whales?
I want fluffy whales.
I could catch up on these whale dreams y'all have.
You do. You got to fluff up your dreams.
No, but it's true. Like
Fluff up your dreams, guys.
But you know what, though? Sleep is so important that people understand that it's very unique to each person and the stage in life that they're in. I've watched my children sleep change as they
Mm.
grow. And I kind of observe them and I wonder, like, how I remember as a teenager, they say the body and the hormones, something happens and you just need a lot of
Yeah,
sleep.
teenagers. That's why
Mm-hmm.
there's
Yeah.
like a big there's like a, I don't know how big it is, but there's a public conversation happening about teenagers really, not because they're lazy or anything, but they just require more sleep
Right.
and to push school back, but pushing school back changes like a whole economic social system, and that putting that
Yep.
in place is a lot harder said or a lot harder done. But that these
They say it would help with depression in
so many,
teenagers
I
if
mean,
they
honestly,
could
so many
push back
benefits of
school.
sleep in general. It would help them a
Mhm.
bunch for sure. But again, we've like shifted this like 8-hour
Society
sleep schedule.
and expectations. I think I know too many people with insomnia, like way too many people. Um, they constantly posting on social media, got just 2 hours of sleep, and they don't have children. It's not about that. It's just that they are unable to sleep and they have the stress and anxiety of not
Yeah.
sleeping. And I'm always thinking, how um, how you could rest without sleeping. Hypnotherapy is really good for that. After a good hypnosis or meditation session, you feel like you've rested instead of being like anxious about not sleeping.
Yeah, and I think with sleep anxiety and all of these things, it's really directly linked to sleep hygiene and like the
Mhm.
habits that we do in and around bedtime.
What are
I
your
love
habits, Tree?
my habits around bedtime.
Yep.
One of my big habits is to completely get off the phone or laptop. So any screen time just gets completely stopped about an hour before bed, sometimes even two if I can, but just have time where it's just no more screen
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
And a lot of us already know this, that the screens emit the blue light that interferes with our circadian rhythms, overexcites the mind. And this is responsible for a lot of restless sleeps and
Migraines too.
insomnia and
Yeah, it
migraines.
blocks the
Yeah,
melatonin
um,
production.
that's right. So, and I just don't like the psychological aspect of bringing work to bed with me or bringing like
Mm.
social energy to bed with me. And so basically, seeing the last hour before sleep or before you go to bed is as a ritualistic preparing for sleep and dreams. Um,
Mhm.
Other rituals that I do, I work with dream plants and dream herbs. So I'll make a tea, usually before
Ah.
bed, that helps with dreaming. Um, yeah, what about you guys?
I
What sort of
I
things do you
just
do?
bought, I'm super
Habits?
excited. I just bought a 200 pack of tea lights. Because I
Tea light.
burned through those
Oh.
things. I just love
Yeah.
lighting up a ton of candles around my apartment and house, turning down the
Mm.
lights, really cueing myself. Again, the same with like the blue light, like the reddish light of like that fire of like the sunset is a signal to produce melatonin, which is a sleepy, hormone that gets released, lets the body know it's time for sleep. I've always, since I was even very little, enjoyed reading before bed. Except back then I would fall asleep with the lights on and the book on my chest, and now I have to be careful not to burn my book with a candle. No,
Yeah,
but
be
I do
careful.
also,
For me it's so the kids don't rip
yeah,
my book to
I also
shreds.
install some red light bulbs in my bedroom and in my bathroom. So even if I have to get up in the middle of
Mm.
the night or I'm just like winding down, I still have pretty good visibility, but that blue light isn't affecting me nearly as much.
For me, my sleeping rituals are varied, but I usually need like an hour to unwind after I put kids down because I've been like in that like like stress and hurried and a different sort of mentality. But while I'm putting them to bed and doing all these things, it helps me because you're reading them a book. You're finally relaxing, and you're listen. We put sound waves for the kids to sleep as white noise. So while I read the book,
Ah,
I'm
that's
listening
good.
to yeah, we're listening to the ocean waves. Either Dimitri and I are reading the books, and so that gets us started. So once they're down, I
Love
come
some
out
ocean
of the
waves.
the room, and I'm already, pretty relaxed. I try to do something fun a little bit for myself. Sometimes I just sit in the kitchen and chill, and then I get ready for sleep because it takes me a little while to really get some alone time, I guess. Definitely setting my intentions though, because every sleep for me is precious. Like every dream that I'm about to have is precious. I really want it to mean something that will help me out the next day. So I set my intentions. That's a big part of my preparation
Attention
for
is
bed.
so huge.
Is what do I want to the dream to gift me, or what do I want to ask the dream? What's the deal?
That's good.
Yeah, taking the time to, yeah, to just like slow down gears, shut down, unwind. I was on retreat with Andrew Holacek, and I love this. He might have mentioned in his book too, but he talks about unwinding for the day, but as unwinding, like the element of wind. We have all these like windy thoughts. It's turbulent, or We're going this way and that way of avoiding things that are too stimulating, and to really, like take those deep breaths and like this decompression,
Yeah.
You were letting the wind out and letting the mind
Mm-hmm.
still and letting the body settle. Because falling
You
asleep is like the
Yeah.
art
you
of
know
doing nothing.
yeah. The in Guatemala they had these little dolls. They're called muñecas quitapena. We lived in Guatemala for 6 months when I was growing up, but basically, you tell the doll your worries, and you put her under the pillow. And she's made from. They made this little doll because it represented some kind of ancient Mayan goddess that was gifted the ability to take away people's worries by this. Like the sun gifted her this ability, so it's some kind of ancient Mayan story or myth, and people still use it. They buy these little dolls and muñeca quita pena, and I guess they're like worry dolls. I don't know what they call them in English, but
I
children
think,
use it, adults use it, and she takes your
That
worries
sounds
away.
right.
So
yeah. Yeah, they're called worry dolls, I think. And yeah, that's a great idea. But like, yeah, a lot of us take our worries to bed. We take our work to bed, our relationship stresses to bed. And we kind of just unconsciously go through the routines before we go to sleep. And often the last thing we do is something that's not even really that relaxing. I mean, some of us think that maybe even watching a film is relaxing to do just before bed, but again, it's that blue screen time as well. I guess
yeah,
the way whenever I like teach kind of sleep hygiene to in workshops or retreats, I always just go back, like just strip down things to the very basics. What did our ancient ancestors do? They weren't on their smartphones. They weren't watching Netflix before bed.
Yeah.
They weren't having a glass of wine or maybe even like smoking
They were
cannabis or
swiping.
just
They
keep
were
it
swiping
really.
real Tinder.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they were in the tribe. They just had to like
Yeah,
roll over to the tent next door and
setting a real
there it
fire.
is.
well, there are some tribes that they sleep whenever they feel sleepy. It's really there's no like day or night, and at all hours. It's
Which is, like we all get like if and let's say you have a normal wake up time around like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, whatever ish, generally for the average Joe or Jane. There is a dip, in your circadian rhythm between like 1 and 3, like a little after lunch, where a lot of cultures do have that like siesta time, like stores close, people have like their lunch, they like, maybe take a nap or just do rest. And that's like built into some cultures that we've kind of lost with this like 40-hour work week. We've divided things up and really categorized them into these like tight boxes where they really shouldn't be that boxy at all.
Hmm.
And if you can give yourself time to nap, that's amazing.
when I lived in Israel,
Mhm.
people, if you go outside of your house between 12 and 4 p.m., there's nothing. Everything is closed, and they still up till now. I mean, everything is
Yeah.
closed. People go and get in their pajamas and they go to sleep.
Yeah. And that's part of like,
I know it's strange. In different cultures, you have the different. I mean, I was in Spain in the summer, so summer height of summer, sun stays out later, and I was so surprised, like walking around in the courtyards of the villages, like kids were playing at 10, 11 at night. Like the kids' playgrounds were open,
Yeah,
and kids were
yeah,
like, "Yay!" Like having fun, and there was still market stalls out. People were still shopping at 10, 11 at night. So yeah,
yeah.
different cultures. I think really based too upon the daylight hours.
Mm.
People change their patterns of sleep as well.
But also dinner times. Hispanic cultures eat dinner late, like 9, 8, 9.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I could never eat a huge meal before sleep. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but it really disrupts my
yeah, I mean,
sleep
I
if I have
can.
a meal before
I
bed.
can.
Again, and I will.
But it doesn't, no, it definitely doesn't help
I
the
can
sleep.
I can eat, just not stuff myself. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go over a few things, a few tips for our listeners about sleep hygiene if people want to improve their sleep
Sleep
hygiene, or maybe they
hygiene.
don't even know. Sleep hygiene. I guess we should probably talk about the history of sleep hygiene because it's
Go ahead.
such a weird term, isn't it? Hygiene. We just think of dental floss or like
Clorox.
plaque buildup or, pubes. I don't know.
Deodorant.
Deodorant. But the sleep hygiene term was first developed in 1939 by a physiologist and a sleep researcher called Nathaniel Kleitman. So this was something that has been around since, the 1930s, and he published a lot of works on the whole concept of sleep hygiene. And then it's become added to and expanded upon. So many years later, in 1977, there was a psychologist called Peter Howry. He resurrected this old concept of sleep hygiene, and he started publishing and started to evolve all the ideas. And it became kind of the guidelines to what we know today. Although we keep adding to these new guidelines because we have modern technology.
Things.
Yeah, we're realizing there's new things that we are implementing in our habits every day that are screwing up our sleep. So we always have to add to it. So let's set up the list as to what can improve your sleep hygiene, because lifestyle factors are really important in this.
So one of the first things you want to do is get out early, get some sunshine, because that's going to set up, the basis of your circadian rhythm. You mentioned earlier of thinking back to what we did in the good old days. And back in the old days, like, we didn't live in these houses shielding us from all this sunlight. We might have slept in caves, but, to even allow some sunlight to come in through your windows, better yet, to step outside, get into the sun, let your body know.
Oxygen.
Yeah, get some fresh air. Let the body know that it is the morning time, and that'll help wake you up. And then getting some exercise in earlier in the day rather than later, which will literally wear the body out. Some people, some of us, a lot of people are, working 9-to-5 jobs, or just seated for a long period of time, and they go home and sit on the couch and watch Netflix. You don't need a whole lot, 20 minutes, an hour is sufficient. That'll really help, especially if you're having trouble falling asleep, to tire yourself out. But you don't want to work out too close to bed. Otherwise, that can really be stimulating.
Yeah. You'll be doing push-ups in your sleep.
I recently went to a Russian bathhouse with my partner, with my husband, and it really affected me. I became a useless human being. It was like I felt sunburned.
Oh, shit.
And I felt not in a bad way, but like it really affected. Like I felt my skin was sunburned. I guess they like the heat that much. I felt like my muscles weren't working. I felt like I couldn't even like hold my head up. It really was and that's how I feel after massages too. That's why I don't get massages. It like I know. I was like, I work backwards. It totally it renders me useless. Like I'm like a pile of mush.
That's great.
No, but it doesn't feel good for me. It feels weird. It feels like I can't even move, and I was like, oh God, I overdid it with the bath.
That's the time to take a nap.
Yeah, it's probably just your body going, yeah, give me some like really good relaxation sleep.
Also, it could be like I think those saunas and steam rooms. It's a detoxing, right?
Well, okay, so check it out. Sweat is mostly water, and so the detoxification in any human being happens within your liver, within your kidneys. So sweating might increase the heart rate, might increase blood flow, which will help like things go around. But sweating by itself, and those saunas and stuff, isn't necessarily detoxing. There's I think a lot of people use the word detox as like some hype, as a marketing ploy. But honestly, if you have a functioning liver and kidneys, and you're eating a regular healthy diet, you'll be fine. But it's relaxing, it's like when we relax, we get into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is this rest and digest. So then we are
Mm,
digesting things versus being in our
mm.
regular sympathetic nervous system, this like flight or fight response, which many people are stuck in because we give ourselves so many things to worry about
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
day. It just doesn't stop. Back in the day, there's a lion, you run away from the lion, you're like, oh shit, I'm good now. The lion's gone. But now the lions are like, the TV shows we're watching, the lions are,
Right.
troubles within our relationship, troubles at work, troubles like paying rent, whatever it
Hmm.
may be. These are constant.
So many.
And also, the lions are the things we're putting in our body. I mean, like sugar and caffeine. This stuff is like triggers fight or flight responses massively. And
Mm-hmm.
these sort of stimulants also can affect and interrupt our sleep hygiene and interrupt good sleep. So, think about how much you're taking in when it comes to sugar and stimulants and caffeine, or even like hard drugs,
Yeah.
like amphetamines,
In general, maybe avoid the hard drugs, even if you're not, having trouble sleeping.
No, no blow before sleep,
That
people.
probably wouldn't help.
Or energy drinks. I mean, like Red Bull, Red Bull or some of these monster drinks, these energy drinks, they're really
Oh
like a lot of people
God.
are addicted to those, and like that really messes up the sleep hygiene. Think of it. Imagine
Your heart.
your heart. Imagine you're on a Red Bull and you're gaming and you're a gamer. So those two things, you got the blue light emitting from your screen, and you're addicted to energy drinks, and you're wondering why you can't lucid dream.
Although
It's like,
I've seen some research lately talking about an increased frequency in lucid dreams for video gamers.
Yeah. Yeah, gamers and lucid dreaming. Yeah. But
So I'd be careful to speak on that there. But yes, if we're gaming too late,
uh-oh.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
but video games can be awesome because you're in the position of like this third person, like controlling and making conscious decisions in
Right,
this
right.
virtual
It's like a
reality.
visualization.
But
Yeah.
definitely caffeine will wreck you. And if people do, I rarely ever drink coffee. And if I do want caffeine, I usually have a little green tea or black tea. But coffee shouldn't be taken later than like 12.
12 noon.
Yeah, noon. So, any last little tips y'all want to mention before we close this out? And we're kind of running out of time here.
Yeah, I would like to mention that everybody try and find what works for them, and to possibly experiment a little bit as well with different things that they could do, or to improve the quality of their sleep, no matter what that entails. But I feel like it would be a good idea.
I would say get, sleep when you can get it. If you can't fall asleep, get out of bed, do something nice and relaxing. Don't stress too much about it, even though it might seem terrible. It's, not the end of the world if you don't get a little sleep. You can always catch up later. Keep your bed nice and clean and clear, and only for bed and other bed activities of
Like hanky
promiscuous
panky
nature. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
and
tree.
yeah, if you fancy knowing a little bit more about your sleep cycles or sleep hygiene or more tips and facts, I have some in my book called
Oh, yeah.
Dreams: How to Work with Your Dreams in a Conscious Way to Enrich Your Life. So you can find my book on Amazon. Dream,
That's true. Tree has a whole sleep hygiene chapter, right?
yeah, and
And a whole chapter on plants you can have in your bedroom.
yeah,
True.
that's true. And how to make your bedroom an optimum place for sleep and dreaming.
Yep.
So
I
lots of
got a copy. It's a great book. Not just saying that because you're on the podcast.
thanks, Ed. As I slip you $100 note or a
Yeah, right.
$100 bill.
I ain't seeing any money.
Oh,
Yeah. So I believe it's time for Tree to draw a tarot card for us.
Yes,
Ooh.
indeed. Let's do it. Let's get some cards.
Which deck?
This is the Rider-Waite deck,
Classic.
which is super classic. It's a super classic deck. It's from the early 1900s. Designed by Pamela Coleman Smith. Her name was Pixie for short.
Interesting.
She was a mystic and an artist.
Mm.
So we've got Temperance,
Ooh.
which is really good actually for this episode.
Yeah.
Temperance, I always see Temperance as the card that prompts us and calls us into having more balance in our life, mind, body, and spirit. If you look at the Temperance card, there's an angel, a winged angel who represents both the masculine and feminine. She's he or she. I always say when I do a tarot reading that the angel is genderless.
Yeah. As
Like what?
angels tend to be, a little
Yeah.
androgynous.
Like what's under that robe? We don't know. It's
Yeah.
kind
Like
of like
David
a
Bowie, you
A
know?
bump.
Yeah, there's just a David Bowie.
Ken doll.
Ken doll, David Bowie bump underneath. But that's how I kind of how I take this angel. But the angel is balancing between earth and water, which expresses the idea of staying grounded. And one foot's in the water, showing that there's a need to be connected to the emotional realms and flow and spirituality. So I see this as a really great prompt for our listeners to bring more balance into life. So this could be like more moderation, like if you're overdoing it right now, if you're partying too much, or you're really lacking good sleep hygiene. That's a good one. And you need to bring some more moderation. So everything in moderation is going to bring a lot more balance into your life. It'll probably help with your conscious dreaming practice. So if you're finding that you need to really just bring in some more balance, maybe you're spending too much time on your phone or doing things that aren't connected to your inner worlds. So it's maybe bad habits that have made you feel like you're kind of disconnected from yourself. A really great card to remind us to bring more of that in. So there's ways you can bring more balance into your life. Simply just journaling or even keeping a dream journal is a great way to bring back more inner balance into your life. And certainly there's lots of things you could do that bring more physical balance into your life. So just spending some time in quiet meditation or exercising more, reading more books. These are kind of really great ways of doing that. Mind, body, spirit, all of these aspects for the Temperance card. What else can I say about the Temperance card? Oh, learning as well. So again, I said books. So books that stimulate your consciousness. So books that are to do with higher learning or consciousness exploration. Great to include that as part of your daily life and maybe even your conscious dreaming practice. Yeah, so get some interesting books or watch interesting documentaries that expand your consciousness in some kind of way, that you learn in a higher learning kind of way.
And with that, I believe that's all we have for you today. If you like this episode, you can find us, follow us, subscribe to us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon. Hang out with us, chat with us. We had our first live chat with the Patreons, and that was a lot of fun. So you can join us on there, and you can find us on Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube. Check us out, share us with a friend, tag us, mention us in the feeds and the stories, etc. We love to hear from you. We love to hear what you got to say. So plenty for you to consume, so you can digest it and sleep. With that, it's time to slip in between the liminal realms of sleep, dream, or waking, wherever you might be. Take care. Stay lucid. Sweet dreams.
Good night.